Hello, BookTube. It's Thursday, and I'm going to do a tag. I planned something else, but I'm working on. But I haven't been that well this week. Um, these symptoms are just carrying on and sort of go up, dip, and it's dipped, especially with my breathing, and which is uh, uh, causing problems. Even with the less sleep that I was having, even less so now. So, but I thought I'd give this a try. It's a tag that I saw on Steve Donahue's channel called Life Stories Tag on Tuesday. Or I probably saw it yesterday on Wednesday, though, actually. Uh, Life Stories Tag, it's about biography and autobiography. Originally done by Book Time with Elvis. I'll attempt to put all the details and the questions down at the bottom in the description, but I can't access my laptop and I can't copy and paste from YouTube anymore on my phone for some reason. It just won't allow me to do it. I'll try it on my tablet to see if that'll work, but I do apologize if it doesn't show up. There's 12 questions, and the first one is, do you have a preference for biography or autobiography? I like both, and there are reasons for that, sort of, and it depends on the, I guess, not the subject so much, because that would be the person, but the area of biography, that would be, I guess, would be it, or area of autobiography. Say, for instance, I guess under this tag they would call it celebrity, but it's film history for me, and I wouldn't think of producers or, you know, studio moguls or directors so much as, or writers, screenwriters as, or production design assistants, cinematographers and stuff like that. I wouldn't consider them celebrities as such. Actors and actresses, yeah, they were celebrities then, and I guess you could still historically say celebrities. But anyway, I like reading the memoirs and autobiography of them to get sort of their personal take and their anecdotes. It's fun reading their little stories of on the set or dealings with the higher echelons, the suits. But then again, it's may not be all truthful. It's embellished a lot of times, but that's can be the fun part of it, and it can tell you a little bit about the writer, the actor, actors, and so forth, producer, director, so forth. And then, so therefore, I like a biography, a good biography, and a biography should analyze and put and give in context, and that's what a lot of times is missing from their own memoirs, is a context of where this fits into what's happening at the time, or in their lives or in other people's lives. So it gives a more rounded, more sort of pulling out and looking from on high rather than from within and looking out, as autobiography I think of is more or less. So and hopefully will give more truth to what's happening as well. Not to say that every story is going to be untruthful, but there are embellishments, and we'll get to sort of those in a little bit, I think. And for authors, if it's an author I really, really like, then I will read their memoirs, their autobiography, for the sheer joy of it. Like P.G. Woodhouse's sort of memoir type stuff is just fantastic to read. And again, I take it with a pinch of salt, knowing that he's embellishing it and making, a story of it more than anything. But then I will go and read his biography, or several biographies I've read, but one of the best is by McCrum. It's on Woodhouse. He's the, I think he still is, big editor at Is it Faber? I think Faber and Faber. One of those. He's a big editor, anyway. But it was a really good biography. It's pretty big. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So it gave me a rounded picture of Wodehouse, and I also love just a couple examples of Wodehouse and George Orwell. George Orwell did a number of sort of autobiographical things, especially his Down and Out in Paris and London, which is just fabulous reading, and I read that over and over, and it's on my list sort of to reread more recently, in the near future, I should say. Sorry. Um, and yeah, so but then I'll read his biographies, and I've got like 5 or 6, I think now. I've read 4, and I'll read even more because a lot of times they take a little bit of different take on it. But yeah. So but for historical figures, sort of non-literary and non-celebrity, I think I prefer biography. But saying that, their diaries and letters, depending on who it is, definitely will be of interest to me. Number 2, do you gravitate toward a specific area like sports, celebrity, history, etc.? Now, I think we sort of covered part of that in the first part, but celebrity, I guess, because it gets with the actors, actresses, and producers, directors, studio moguls, cinematographers, screenwriters, everything, stuntmen, you name it, all the back stuff. But here's sort of a director here, Sturgis, Preston Sturgis, on Preston Sturgis. It's sort of posthumously autobiographical or memoir type writings, and they're fantastic. I think, yeah, that would be the biggest section of biography / autobiography I read, would be the celebrity type. And like I say, I use that in quotations because it's not just actresses and actors, it's the film history. It's biographies of people dealing with film history, let's put it that way. There's other ones here, like Fritz Lang. It's a biography, but we'll get to that and the reasons for that in a moment. Yeah, well, literature as well, as I guess would be the next, or fiction writers. Not so much. Yeah, well, mostly there's not too many non-fiction writers that you. Well, no, sorry, I'm just sort of trying to second guess the thought here, but no, they're like writers would be the next best, and then historical figures, sort of a really low third, I suppose, with that. Number 3, have you ever read the life story of someone and in doing so changed your opinion of them for better or for worse? Example. I don't know if I can't think of anything that has totally changed my mind to thinking better or worse of them. Sometimes, if I read a writer's biography that I never really cared for, but I think he's an important writer, so that sort of or she, and I think, well, I should know something a little more about them, and I've had the time to read it and the opportunity to get a copy that's, dirt cheap, and it has sometimes led me back to their writings, sometimes to reappraise it, sometimes to just sort of, okay, well, yeah, now I've done this, I know about the author a little more, I should reacquaint myself with their writings, or at least partially. A lot of times I've had sort of assumptions maybe of what I thought the person was like. It's well, here's an example of an actor, James Stewart. He was a fantastic actor, played in a lot of films that I like. I liked his characters. His characters seemed to have been sort of, helpful. I guess, for sort of for the everyman type, people a lot of times. But he was a staunch, Republican and conservative. So it sort of doesn't quite fit with what he's playing, but that doesn't really matter. It hasn't changed my mind. Maybe as a person, like it may not be somebody that I would have actually got along with, but it's like it hasn't changed my mind of their craft, and that rarely does. I can't think of an occasion where reading somebody's biography has changed my mind of their art or craft. It just that is yet to sort of happen. It's like John Wayne. I don't think I get along with John Wayne, but I do a lot of films and I do like his acting. But I just think he might have been a horrible person. Just because of his staunch, conservatism. So I can't think of anything that has changed my mind because so much, if that makes sense. Number 4, must you always know who the person is before picking up their life story? Well, yeah, to a certain extent, because, there's memoirs and autobiographies of everyone. And I need to sort of know, well, okay, who is this person? Who is he? Who is he? Who is she? Who are they? Are they a historical figure? Are they political figure? Or, usually you can tell these modern day sort of celebrity, I call them junk biographies and autobiographies because they seem to just churn these out by the thousands. Anybody who has done anything like music or anything like that, is all of a sudden they're 18 or 19 years old and they've got a memoir. Really? But yeah, so I need to know sort of who they are. I don't need to know a lot of details of them, but if for instance, if it's somebody that I never heard of doing film history or something in silent film and stuff, if I knew that they were in the silent film industry, and it's like, ooh, that's piqued my interest. Okay, yes. But if they didn't do anything like that or anything that I'm interested in, then probably I wouldn't bother with it. Like I just don't pick up random biographies and read. Well, it's the same as books. I pick up a random book, but then it has to have something once I learn about it. Um, of interest to me. So, number 5, have you ever met someone whose autobiography you've read? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think I've met anybody. Like I've met a lot of sort of modern celebrities at sort of science fiction conventions and that, but I can't think of anybody that I've actually read their memoir. It's usually because I like what show they were in or whatever, and I got a signed picture. But I do sort of know some of their biography, but not reading anything of theirs. So I can't think of anything. What do you think about books that are described as semi-autobiographical? Um, it depends. Like I say, I mentioned George Orwell's Down and Out in Paris and London, which I think is great. I think it's semi-autobiographical. It's not autobiography. Uh, but I don't like, well, as Steve Donahue said, this autofiction where it's just, that's all it is, but they pretend that it's fiction. I think everything that somebody writes, to a certain extent, is going to be, there's going to be autobiographical stuff. There's going to be real life stuff in there, but hopefully they should change it. Um, um, yeah, because like I think a lot of great novels have a lot of stuff that they've pulled from their own lives, but they've adapted it. It's like uh, Look Homeward, Angel, by Thomas Wolfe. There's a lot of autobiographical stuff in there and real things about people, but he's changed them. He's, you know, the names are changed, and it's or Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. It's like, you know, it just, you can go on and on. So much stuff is you know, based on real people or incidents in their lives. Does that fit under this, that's semi-autobiographical, or is it specifically to these autofiction things? So if it's autofiction, then no. But if it's the other, then yeah, I have no problem with it. Number 7, give an example of a life story that really surprised you. Ooh. Well, I suppose, like, yeah, I guess, I mentioned that James Stewart. It was a bit of a surprise to find out that he was that way, that he was a conservative, and um, so that was a surprise, but not sort of really surprised me. There really isn't anything that really surprised me, I don't think. Let me see, where are we here? Number 8, what biographies, autobiographies, memoirs, etc. are currently on your TBR? Well, I showed this just briefly, but this definitely is a Fritz Lang biography by Patrick McGilligan, who I really like as a writer. I haven't read this in full. I had started reading it while I was in Canada, and I never got it finished. There's a ton of these that are on my TBR, sort of. Joseph von Sternberg, another silent film and sound film director. This was one of the ones that were on my book haul, but definitely is on my TBR. Lion of Hollywood, Life of Legend of Louis B. Mayer by Scott Eyman. And as a reread is sort of for memoir, autobiography, is Charles Chaplin's autobiography, which I'd be reading in conjunction with David Thompson's massive biography, or reread, I should say, because I'd read these already before. And just sort of getting back as an example here of tall tales. Fritz Lang has always said that, you know, Joseph Goebbels pulled him into his office in like 1933, I guess it was, and said, you know, big office. He describes it, you know, with you know, wall hangings and everything. He gets into, he's perfected the detail of all this. And Goebbels offered him, you know, the head of sort of, you know, propaganda, or head of film production for the Nazi empire type thing, the Nazi regime. And Fritz Lang said, "Oh yeah, oh great, Joe, yeah, love it." Walked out the door, ran home, packed his bags, stuffed as much money as he had in his pockets and sewn it into his pockets, and buggered off on the first train out of the country. That's what he says, and he perfected this story in this sort of biography type thing. Which Patrick McGilligan finally, he looked at his his uh, his passport records, and it looked like he was in and out of the country for a long time. Like, he didn't bugger off, he didn't do anything like that, because he was divorcing his wife Tiaban Harbo, who was an ardent Nazi. So he's so there's a lot of BS there in the tall tale for that, but that's why it's fun. And then you get the biography, and you learn what's more likely the truth. And I just say that, more likely. So those are on my TBR and more. Like, I got lots on the shelves and there's another one I'm looking. There was the Goldwyn, I think, and then there's that Young Orson Welles by Patrick McGilligan again. And there's the Simon Callow's 4-volume Orson Welles that I want to read, but I only have 2 volumes, so I need to get the final 2 volumes. And number 9, whose life story did you find particularly hard going? Either emotionally difficult to read or very boring. I can't really think of anything that was really, like, I'm sure there was some boring stuff that I've read, but I can't think of it. And emotionally difficult, I don't know. The only thing that comes to there's I forget the author's name now. Is it Scott Berg, possibly? Did Louise Brooks biography, and it was the first biography I read of Louise Brooks, and it wasn't emotionally, but it was like, you could see how it was difficult for her to do things, and she was difficult herself, but it was sort of sad that she let sort of pleasure take hold at times, and just ran off and left Hollywood, and didn't take a few chances that were there, but then she was forced on to things, or tried to be forced, which was sort of sad. And then it sort of the way her life sort of turned out in the end, with a lot of sadness looking back and things like that. But I guess that would be the closest that I can think of. Number 10, is there anyone you know personally who you feel should have their life story written down? Me? No. Yeah, one paragraph, 1 page if you're lucky. Not somebody I know personally. No, I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I can't. Oh, yes, there is. Well, I know. When you say personally, as friend or somebody you've met and spoke to a lot, there is a film historian, Kevin Braunlau. I think I'd love to read a biography of him. And he's a silent film historian. I think he's won the first Oscar for doing that kind of thing. For that, and he spent lifetime getting Abel Gantz's Napoleon, reconstructed, which I've seen twice, at the Royal Festival Hall, with Carl Davis conducting a live orchestra. But yeah, and in a lot of other stuff, he did a lot of documentaries and all sorts of stuff, and he was film editor as well. I'm pretty sure he edited, or was a film editor on, or maybe one of many, on Lawrence of Arabia for David Lean. So yeah, I'd love to see a biography of him. Like, I don't know him personally, but I've met him many times. Well, probably about half a dozen times, and chatted with him various occasions. And just another one off the top of my head is uh, uh, a a silent film accompanist and composer, Neil Brand. I would have no problem reading something about him or his own memoir if he ever did one. And again, it's someone that I've met several times and had several chats about. But no, personally, I'm not sure if that fits on it. If it does, then yes, those fit. And if it does, if it means somebody else that you know as a friend, then the answer is no. Uh, Number 11. Have you read any diaries or collections of letters? If so, which ones did you find interesting? Many. I can't reach it now, but I've showed it on the channel in the past. It's Thomas Carlyle and Jane Carlyle's husband and wife letters collection. There's like 40 or 50 volumes now. I've got the first dozen, I think it is, and I've started reading those, and they are fantastic. And I'd love to get the complete collection and read it all the way through. Well, who knows? And as a prop here, I've got George. These are individual volumes. George Orwell's Diaries that have been excerpted from the 20-volume series, and it's edited by Peter Davison. This is Harville and Secker, 2009. Very poorly made in the pages. I bought these new, and the pages are already, yellowing for these. 2009. And it goes through because I mentioned the Down and Out in Paris by him, and it's like, it starts out with the hop picking diary, and then his Road to Wigan Pier book, which is great too. It's got some autobiographical information in, and this is his diary for Road to Wigan Pier diary, and just all sorts of other stuff, which is great. And the other one here is his letters. It's a life in letters, and again, it's Secker Warburg, edited by Peter Davidson, selected and annotated out of the 20-volume set, which I have, or most of it. I'm missing 2 volumes. This is 2010. It's a year after the other one. Now, I bought this, but I'm not sure. I'm just looking here, because in the original, I loved the because this gives sort of the context for his writings, the diaries and stuff. Letters, a lot of times, some of them are just personal letters, family letters, but I thoroughly enjoy letters back and forth to Victor Golan's, the editor, the owner of Golan's Publishing. And those are fantastic. And I'm not, I was looking to see if in there, because in the 20-volume set, there are the return letters, the back and forth. There's the replies and sort of like that. So that's just fantastic. And I love those. And I love that of any sort of writer that I like. And I got a huge collection of P.G. Wodehouse letters that I enjoy reading. I'm collecting a set. It's up to volume 9. I only have volumes 5 or 6 now, I think. 5 maybe, of T.S. Eliot's letters, and those are fantastic. Mark Richardson is ahead of me with 1 volume at the moment. But I think number 9 is coming out later this year, but it could be anywhere 15, 20 volumes by the time it's done. Sorry. Just need to try to get a breath there. But yeah, those are fantastic as well. And I just love, there was a collection of letters that, I still read them. I got all his letters. Is Lord Chesterfield's letters to his son on how to be a gentleman. And I thoroughly loved those, and I still love them, and I used to read those over and over again when I was in university, and I just loved those things. Diaries, Samuel Pepys' diary. I'm still sort of making my way through, and it's going to be a long process for that, I think. And just yeah, there's many other diaries I can't think of off the top of my head. I love diaries and letters, especially of writers that I like. If it's somebody that I like, or um, like I've got a big honking letters of Oscar Wilde, which is really there. I've dipped in, and some of those are fantastic. Uh, and one of the Mitford sisters, I bought a big collection, and those seem quite interesting. Um, I can't remember which Mitford. It's not Nancy. It's a sort of orange or red one, but it was so cheap. It was only like £2 or £3 or something like that with shipping. So I thought I'd take a gamble on it, and I'm glad I did. She was sort of more society, I think, type thing in New York and so forth, but can't think of which one it is. And I've got Evelyn Waugh's collection of his letters, which is fantastic. And it just goes on and on and on, and other diaries and stuff. And so I do really like them. And number 12, the last question is, what are a few life story books you would recommend us to read? Um, well, if anybody's interested in sort of 20s Paris, sort of another side of it, especially the food side in the restaurants, would be Down and Out in Paris and London, and then by George Orwell, Eric Arthur Blair. Um, Try to think, because yeah, just something that's well, for uh, sort of celebrity type thing, or our film is David Thompson's history, our biography of Charles Chaplin is just fantastic. Uh, I don't know, because it depends on what people, I guess, what they like. Letters, like the Chesterfield letters. If it's something that's from the description that I said, that would be one. Uh, P.G. Woodhouse, Robert McCrum's Robert McCrum, Robert is it Robert? McCrum's biography of Woodhouse is fantastic. Uh, T.J. Taylor's biography of Orwell is fantastic, but so are a number of other ones. Yeah, so there's a few. There's a few there, and sort of covering areas of authors. And well, yeah, Claire Tomlin's Samuel Pepys is just fantastic. Well, she's anything that she writes, it's worth reading, regardless. And she's coming out, I think, with a I saw it on Steve Donahue's channel. He mentioned it. Uh, a biography of H.G. Wells, which I sort of would look forward to. It's sort of early, young, H.G. Wells. So that could be quite interesting, because she's a fabulous writer. Uh, but yeah, that's it, BookTube, and I won't tag anybody. This is getting too long anyway. It's 35 minutes long almost. So I hope to be back with some other videos, or non sort of tag, but I think there's another tag that's of interest, and I've been tagged in a few things before the end of January there, so I have to sort of track those down and try to get those done. So I do apologize, but I had a bit of a blip, as you may be aware. But anyway, take care, BookTube. I'll see you next time.